Hello guys, welcome back to TechDose, and in this video we will see the perfect squares problem which is from LeetCode day 27 of the June challenge. So let us now look at the problem statement. In this problem, given a positive integer n, we are required to find the least number of perfect square numbers that sum up to the number n. So let us say our number n is 25. Then this can be divided into perfect square sums as 3 square plus 4 square, which is having two perfect square sums. So this is 2. Now it can also be further divided like 3 square plus 2 square 4 times, and so you are basically using 5 perfect square sums, therefore it will be 5. And you can also divide it like 1 square plus 1 square 25 times, so it will be 25. And also you can write it as 5 square, then it will be just a sum of a single perfect square. So in this case you can see that I have shown 4 different combinations possible. So we will take the minimum. That is, we will take the minimum number of perfect square sums which can be added to get this 25. So minimum is 1, that is we can just use a single perfect square 5 square to get this 25. So in this case the answer will be 1. Okay. So let us say if you take the number 13, then we can get 13 by adding 3 square plus 2 square, and this is the minimum number of perfect squares which we will add to get this 13. There is no possible answer which will get better than this, since this 13 is not a perfect square in itself. Okay, so in this case we will simply return 2. So I hope you got the problem statement. Let us now look at the methods by using which we can solve this. So I will be showing you 3 solution methods. First one will be by using recursion plus memoization. Second one will be by using dynamic programming tabulation method. And the third one will be by using Legendre's 3-square theorem, which is derived from the Bachet's conjecture, also known as the Lagrange's 4-square theorem. Okay, so before seeing any solution, let us move step by step. So the first step is, if you are given a number n, then you will check if it is a perfect square. If it is a perfect square, then you will simply return 1. So in this case, square root of n should be stored in an integer value, and then only you should compare a into a equals n. Because if you do not do this and you do something like this, square root of n into square root of n should be equals to n, then this might include something like irrational numbers or some decimal numbers as well. You want that this a should be perfect square root of this n. Okay, so for that reason you will first store it in an integer value. So this is not a good practice to use. Okay, so let us say your n value is 20, then your square root of n will be 2 root 5. So if you use this method, then this one might give you the correct result, that this one might produce true, but then it will be false, because if you take an integer, then actually square root of n will be 2. So 2 into 2 is not equals to 20. But if you use this formula, then this might give you true answer. Okay, so better to use this method. Now let us look at the next step. So the next step is, if your n value is less than equals to 3, then we will have to simply return n. And why is that? Because if your n value is less than equals to 3, then there is only one possible split. Like you can write n equals to 1 as sum of 1 square. You can write n equals to 2 as sum of a 1 square plus 1 square. So these are the sum of 2 perfect squares. If you write n equals to 3, then this will be a sum of 3 perfect squares. Okay. So for n equals to 1, 2, 3, you will simply return the n value. And if n value is equals to this 0, then simply you will have to return 0, since there is no perfect square possible. Okay. So the third step is, maximum number of perfect squares to get sum equals to n will be n. So as I have shown you, like in the previous step, in this case, this was the worst case scenario. Because given a number n, let us say if you are given the number 3, then it can always be split into chunks of 1 square, 1 square and 1 square. Okay, so it will always be possible to break it into 3 parts. So given a number 13, it can always be possible to break it into 13 parts into chunks of 1 square, because 1 square is also a perfect square. Okay, so your answer will be 13. So given a number n, in worst case, we can get this n by n divisions of 1 square each. Therefore for n, the worst case answer will be n. So we need to find the minimum answer. Okay, and it can go maximum to n. So this is one important point to note. Now given n, split it only at the perfect square breakpoints, because we need to find the sum of only the perfect squares to reach n using the minimum number of breakpoints. So let us say your number given is a. Okay, so you cannot simply break at any point. Like if you are considering this a for breaking it into perfect square sums, then what will be the value? Like wherever you break, it should come out to be a perfect square. Okay, so let us say I will move from the right hand side. Let us say this is a and this is 0.0. Okay, now where should I break? Let us say I break at this point. Then whatever the value is, like this PS3, this one should be a perfect square. Otherwise I cannot put a breakpoint here, because the question says that we need to get this sum a by using the sum of perfect squares. So we cannot just break at any point. Now let us say the next point where we can break is this point. Then this value as well should be a perfect square. So this PS2 should also be a perfect square, and also if you break like this, then PS1 should also be a perfect square. Only then you can add these three values and get this value a. Okay, so this number line is basically starting from 0 because we are dealing only with the positive numbers. So in the second example you can see that you cannot just break at any point. So this was our first breakpoint B1, and this is our second breakpoint B2, this is our third breakpoint, let's say it's B3. Then in this case you can see that this point is lying between B1 and B2. So we cannot do a break at this point since the last point is also A. So at least one of x and y is not a perfect square, then we cannot do a breakpoint at this point, because all the parts, that is all the chunks, should be a perfect square. This is the main constraint of our problem statement. Okay, so let us say your n value is equals to 7. So this is the number line which I have drawn. Now where can you put the breakpoints? The first breakpoint can be at a difference of 1 square. So let us say we are moving from right to left, then at 1 square you can put a breakpoint. So this is 1 square, and hence you can put a breakpoint here. Okay, now if you consider this 7 again as your starting point, and if you want to find the next breakpoint, then that can be a 2 square. So what is the 2 square difference point? It is 3, because this difference is 2 square, which is 4. Okay, so the next breakpoint will be at 3. And what will be the next breakpoint if you consider this 7 as your starting point? This will be 3 square. So 3 square will be 9, but 9 will be out of bounds. So you cannot do this breakpoint. So there are only 2 breakpoints if you are starting at 7. But let's say you used this 1 square breakpoint and went to 6. And then from here you can again do a 1 square breakpoint or a 2 square breakpoint, choosing this 5, otherwise this 2. Okay, so this is a recursive process actually. So if we see this second example, in this case as well, if you consider this 10 as your starting point, then you can put a breakpoint at 1 square difference, which will be at 9, at 2 square difference, which will be at 6, and at 3 square difference, which will be at 1. Okay, so I think you understood this breakpoint approach. Now let us look at how do we solve it by using recursion. So let us assume that our n value is equals to 7. So this is the recursion tree actually which will be drawn. So this is our root, which is 7. So how do we break this point? Actually, if n is equals to 7, then we will start with the minimum possible breakpoint size, which will be 1 square. So if you break it into 1 square, then this 7 will be called with the value 6. Again this 6 will be broken into 5, and so on. This will be broken to size 1. And let us say your base case is that for 0 you will return 0, as I have already explained you. For 1 you will return 1. Actually you can also do like this. For n less than equals to 3 you will simply return n. Okay, so it all depends on you how you do it. So in this case I will assume that I have used only 0 and 1 as our base case. So as soon as we reach this 1, then this will return 1 here. Okay, and then this will try for the second breakpoint, but from 2 you cannot have a breakpoint of size 2 square. So there will be no right call. This will just be a single call. So this will be returning a value 2, which will be 1 plus 1. Now this 3 can also not have more breakpoints, because more breakpoints will make it go out of bounds. So this will return a value 3, which will be 1 plus 2. Because we have put the breakpoint at 3, we have put the breakpoint at 2, and we have also put a breakpoint at 1. So this is nothing but the count of breakpoints actually. So at 4 you can have the second breakpoint, which will be 2 square, and the value will come out to be 0 here. So for 0 we know that answer will be 0, so this will be returning 0, and so this will be returning the minimum of this 1 plus 3 comma 0 plus 1. Okay, so this 4 is actually a perfect square, therefore we will simply return 1. Okay, So for this 5, it got from the left call value 1, it will make the right call, it will do the next split. So the next split will be at 2 square difference, so it will be at 1. So 1 is a base case, it will be returning the value. So similarly, this entire tree will be traversed and you will get your optimal answer at the root. You will take the minimum of all the calls. Okay, so how do you implement this? Actually, these are the 2 lines which is very helpful for implementing this approach. So this for loop is actually creating the breakpoints. So your breakpoint can start from 1 square. That is why I is equals to 1. And you cannot go out of bounds. That is, you are taking everything in square actually. So I is basically 1. So your I into I should be in bounds. That is, should be less than equals to n. Okay. And you will increment I by value 1. Now when you make the recursion call, then actually you will be decrementing the n's value. So in this case as well, you started with n is equals to 7 and you are taking break of 1. Okay, so you reached this 6, and similarly you will make a break of 1 and you will reach at 5. Otherwise, if you do a breakpoint 2, then 4 will be reduced from it and it will make a call to 3. Okay, so these are basically defining the breakpoints. N minus I into I will give you the next breakpoint. So if you solve this smaller problem for this 3, then you can solve this bigger problem. Okay, and in this case as well, you can see that there are many repeating subproblems. This 3 here and this 3 here is a repeating subproblem. This 2 here, this 2 here is a repeating subproblem, and there will be many other repeating subproblems as well. Okay, so there are repeating subproblems, and also if you solve the smaller subproblems, then this will lead to a solution for the bigger subproblems. Therefore, there is optimal substructure as well. Therefore, we can solve this problem by using dynamic programming. So you can use memoization. Okay, memoization will do like, if you come to a value and if it is not calculated, then it will be calculated and stored in your table. And once you have calculated and stored in your table, and the next time when you encounter this value, then you will simply look this table and return the value, so that no further processing is done. So this lookup table will help in removing all the unnecessary recursion calls. So it is better to solve this by using memoization. Now we can also solve this by using DP tabulation method. So let us say our n value is equals to 6. So in this case, I will write 0, 1, 2, 3 with values 0, 1, 2, 3. As I have already explained, these are the base cases. So I will start with the value 4. Okay. So basically what I will do is, I will assign this value 4 with 4 initially, because in the worst case, any number I can be divided into chunks of 1 square, as I have already explained you. So if you divide a number in chunks of 1 square, then how many chunks will be formed? There will be n chunks. So for this n value 4, the answer will be 4 initially, because this is the maximum possible answer. Now you want to minimize it. So how do we minimize it actually? So in this case, we have already filled from 0 to 3, and now we want to make optimal result for this 4. So we will start with the breakpoints. So we will start with the breakpoint 1. So 1 will be making a breakpoint of size 1 square. So we will go to the previous value 1 square. And what is the value here? For getting 3, you need 3 chunks. Okay. So for getting 4, how many chunks do you require? Actually, you made 1 split in order to reach this 3. So the number of chunks required to make 4 will be 1 plus 3, which will be equals to 4. But then you will take the minimum of whatever is stored here plus whatever you found in this call. So this call you found 4 and 4 is already stored here, so nothing will be done. Now you will try for the next breakpoint. So what will be the next breakpoint size? The breakpoint size will be defined by this j value. So j value will be 2, so breakpoint will be 2 square. So if you go to 2 square, then you will simply reach this value 0. So you have made one split and you reach to value 0, and answer here is 0. So what will be the number of square sums in order to get this 4? It will be this 0 plus the number of splits you made. Now you are making just a single split, therefore it will be 1. So you will take minimum of 1, 4, so this will come out to be 1. And now you cannot make further breaks because it will go out of bounds. So you will now move on to the next step. So for this value n equals to 5, similarly you will repeat the process. The j value will start from 1. Okay, so this is j value loop. So in this case as well, the first split will be at a difference of 1 square, so you will reach this 4. So you can see that you can form this 4 by just using a single split. Okay, that is basically by making no split at all. So in this case, in order to form 5, how many chunks do you require? You will require number of chunks in order to make 4 plus 1, because you are making a split at 4. So it will be 1 plus 1, which will be 2. But initially you will fill it by 5, because this is the maximum number of chunks which you can use to form this number. So now you got a number 2. So you will update this value to minimum value, which is 2. Now you will simply do the second split at 2 square. So if you do at 2 square, you will reach this 1. So what is the value at 1? It is 1. So 1 plus 1 will be 2, and it is already 2, so you will not update it. And you cannot make further splits because it will go out of bounds. So now you will do for n is equals to 6. So for 6, you will do a 1 square split at 5, it is 2. So here it will come out to be 3. But it will initially be filled with 6, which is the maximum number of chunks required, and now you got 3. So you will update it with 3 since this is smaller. Now you will make a 2 square split. It will be at 2. 2's value is here 2, so 2 plus 1 will be 3. It is already 3. Now 3 square split is not possible, so you will not do anything. Now finally, after processing each and every value, you will return dp table dp at n. Okay, so this is our dp table. So dp at n is equals to 3. So in this case, the answer will be 3. Okay. So what will be the time complexity? Actually, we are covering all the n values, and for each value, we are making split from 1 to j into j less than equals to I, which is nothing but square root of n. Okay. So the total time complexity will be n square root of n. So let us now look at the next method. So the next method is based on Lagrange's 4 square theorem. Every natural number can be represented as the sum of 4 integer squares. So if your number is, let us say, n, then it can be represented as a square plus b square plus c square plus d square. So let us say if your number is 31, then it can be represented as 5 square plus 2 square plus 1 square plus 1 square, and 3 can be represented as 1 square, 1 square, 1 square and 0 square. So you can see that for our problem, our answer will range from value 1 to 4. This is for sure, using this Lagrange's 4 square theorem. Okay. Now Legendre's 3 square theorem is actually derived from Lagrange's 4 square theorem, and it says that a natural number can be represented as sum of 3 squares of integer. So if your number is n, then it can be represented as a square plus b square plus c square. If and only if n is not in the form of 4 to the power a multiplied by 8b plus 7, where a and b are non-negative integers. So in this case, the answer will come out to be 4. Okay, so we have already seen in the Lagrange's 4 square theorem that our answer will range from 1 to 4, and in this case it says that it will range from 1 to 3. But then if your number is of the form of this, then you can represent it by using sum of 4 squares. Okay, so if your number is in this form, then you will simply return 4. Now let us see how do we use this Legendre's 3 square theorem in order to solve our problem. So let us assume that if your n value is equals to 368, now what we will do, I have already explained you that first you will check if it is a perfect square. If it is a perfect square, then simply you will return 1. So if ceil of square root of n is equals to floor of square root of n, then you will return 1. Okay. So if it is not a perfect square, then the case for this 1 value is gone now. Okay. Now we will check for case 4, that is if your answer can be 4. Now check if the number is of the form of 4 to the power a into 8b plus 7. So how do you check this? Actually, you will keep dividing the number by 4. So unless and until the number is not divisible by 4, you will not stop. Okay, you will keep dividing the number by 4. So when you come out of this, then your number can be in the form of 8b plus 7 if your number was initially in the form of this one. Okay, so if you take this 368, then actually your result here before entering this if statement will be 8 into 2 plus 7, which will be nothing but 23. Okay, so now you will check if n mod 8 is equals to 7. If it is equals to 7, then this indicates that number is of the form of 8b plus 7. So in this case, if you take mod 8 for this value 23, then it will come out to be 7. So simply return value 4, because this number 368 can be represented by using sum of 4 perfect squares. Okay, so this is according to Legendre's theorem. So we have only covered two cases only for value 1 and 4. So I will show you more cases as well. So all squares of a perfect square will be perfect square. So this is very simple to understand, I think. Now the second point is that multiplying two perfect squares always results in a perfect square. So if you multiply 3 square into 2 square, then this will be 3 into 3 into 2 into 2. So this will be nothing but 6 square. Now if you take a general form like a square into b square and you take square root of this, then this can be represented as a square into b square because they are in pairs. And now for the square root, actually you will dissolve this pair into 1. So this will be nothing but a into b. So multiplying two perfect square will always result in a perfect square. So this is the proof for this. Okay. Now let us look at this example 2. Here n value is equals to 52. Now this 52 will pass through this step 1 and step 2. So when this passes through step 2, then the n value will be reduced to 13 because we were basically dividing the number by 4 unless and until it is not divisible by 4. So the result will be 13. So in step 3, actually what we will do is we will check for a breakpoint, that is we will check for a point where if we put a breakpoint, then basically the left hand side will be a perfect square, the right hand side will be a perfect square, and on adding this we will simply get our number n. So this left part should start from 0 and this should end at value n. Only then this can be valid. So we want to find just a single breakpoint. Now how do we find it? Actually you can take this reduced value, it will also work, and you can also take this initial value, it will also work. So this you can check it in square root of n time. Okay. So how do we find this breakpoint? Actually if you are having a number line and let us say it is starting from 0 and this is your value n, then you will put a breakpoint somewhere and then you will see that this will be I into I. So you will run a loop and you will put the breakpoints as I've already explained you in dynamic programming and recursion. Okay. So when you are making a breakpoint, then you are sure that this part is a perfect square. Okay. Now you want to verify if this part is also a perfect square. So how will you do this? So this value will be nothing but n minus I into I. So you will take the square root of this part and then you will check if square root of n minus I into I multiplied by the same value, which is nothing but the square root of n minus I into I, should be equals to this gap. Okay. So then it will become a perfect square, and if it is a perfect square, then we have found a valid breakpoint and we will simply return our answer to be 2, because this n can be formed by using two perfect square sums. So if we are not able to find any breakpoint which can divide a value n into two perfect square sums, then actually this case for returning 2 is also gone. And now since according to Lagrange's 4 square theorem, every natural number can be represented as a sum of 4 square sums, therefore we have already checked for case 1, 4 and 2. So our obvious answer will be 3. So we will not do any checks for this 3 and we will simply return this 3 in step 4. Okay. So our total time complexity for this process is order of root n. So I hope you understood all the 3 processes. Let us now look at the code. So this is the recursion code where we are given n value and I have used simple recursion. Okay. So this is our main function actually. From here I have called the recursion function and this is creating the breakpoints. So this is the first approach. Let us now look at the second approach. Well, this second approach is based on recursion plus memoization, which is also DP, using a lookup table. So in this case I have used the same recursion code, but then this is only checking if the lookup table is already filled, then we will simply return the value. Otherwise we will calculate, and after calculating we will populate our DP table. So in this way we can use memoization. Now let us look at the next method. Well, the next method is based on DP tabulation. So this is also very simple, where we are given this n value and I have made a single dimensional table. Okay, and in this case I have just filled DP at 0. In the theory part I have shown that I filled 0, 1, 2, 3. So you can follow that, or you can do like this. Just fill DP at 0 equals 0. And then again I have followed the same process. I have processed each and every number from 1 to n, and for each number I have assigned the current cell with the value I, because this is the maximum number of split. So if you are at this number 2, then initially I was showing that it will be 2. 2 will be filled because we can always break a number into chunks of 1 square. Now since this is filled, this is the maximum possible divisions. After that we will try to minimize this. So we will try to create chunks. So we can create breakpoints at 1 square, 2 square, 3 square and so on. And whenever we make a breakpoint, then actually we will be comparing 1 plus dp at I minus square, that is the breakpoint, and the current value which is already stored. So this I have already explained in the theory. Now let us look at the next method. This is the last method, which is by using Legendre's 3 square theorem. Well, this is the fastest actually, which will solve this problem in just root n time. So in this case we will check if the number is a perfect square. If this is a perfect square, simply return 1. Otherwise we will check if it is in the form of 4 to the power a into 8b plus 7. If it is in this form, then we will simply return 4. Otherwise we will be left for only case 2 and case 3. So we will check for case 2. So if a number a can be divided into 2 parts, making a breakpoint at some position such that this one is also a perfect square and this one is also a perfect square, then we can return 2. Okay, so we are creating the breakpoints at a split point of perfect square. So in this case you can see that we are splitting at perfect square values n minus I square. So this one, this right side one is already ensured that this is a perfect square, since the breakpoint size is of perfect square starting from a. Okay, so now we just need to check this part if it is a perfect square. If this second part is a perfect square, that is n minus I square, then this will also be a perfect square. So let us say this was n and this was I square, then this will be nothing but n minus I square. Okay, so we are checking if n minus I square is a perfect square. If it is, then we will return 2. Otherwise, after processing this point, we didn't find any breakpoint which will divide this number n into 2 sum of perfect squares, then we will simply return 3. This is according to Legendre's 3 square theorem. So I hope you were able to understand this. If you have any other approach or solution in different languages, then please post below so that everyone can take benefit from it. Like and share our video and subscribe to our channel in order to watch more of this programming videos. See you in our next video. Thank you.